Well, the 2024 draft class is officially in the books, but how the heck did the Jets do? What about the key decisions the Jets made throughout the entire draft, picking this player or that player? We're going to break it all down here on Boy Green Daily on a Sunday morning post draft edition. Let's roll.
Zoinks! It is unequivocally the Super Bowl for New York Jet fans.
Field Yates, baby. Field gosh darn Yates. Let's bring him on the show.
Come on, people. Connor Rogers is joining the show. What's up, Connor? But Trevor gosh darn Sycamore, baby, for me, personally, my favorite New York Jet of all time.
Wow, it's great to be on. What an intro that was right there.
Paul, nobody does an intro like you, man.
Paul, you give the best intro of literally any podcast that I've ever been on.
I'm gonna lose my gosh darn bananas.
Hey, what's poppin', everybody? Paul Esden Jr., a.k.a. Boy Green. I'm the New York Jets digital reporter for Heavy.com. Welcome to Boy Green Daily, a daily New York Jets video show, also available wherever you get your gosh darn podcast, if that's what you prefer. Welcome to the show, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the draft. The Jets ended up with 7 picks, but they got to those 7 picks in a lot of different weird road. Joe Douglas driving, Robert Saleh with a map, turn left, turn righty with some sort of weird GPS system, but with trades up and down the board. We'll talk about all that, but let's bring on, because you people were asking for it. You said, what does your father think of all this jazz? Well, let's find the heck out, because my father joins us to put a beautiful bow on the 2024 NFL draft and react to all of it. I'm sure he has a lot of thoughts. Let's find out those thoughts. It's time to, speaking of the GPS, beep, boop, pop, Esden Zone, take me there. Here we are. Technology. What's up, Pop?
Good morning, Boy Green.
Yes, a
An
very
exciting
good morning.
post-draft day morning. And for those that were paying attention yesterday, one of your people on the promo is maybe this is a foretelling of things to come. Field Yates was on the big desk for the second day of the draft, and someday we'll all see you there.
Ooh.
On the second day of the draft.
Okay. All right. That'd be very nice. Normally, I've been watching, just so happens, over the last couple of years, the ESPN coverage, like Mel Kiper and Field getting on the desk this year, and Greeny is there for the first 2 days. But this year I went, you know what, let me dive back into the NFL Network water. So that's where I swam. But either way, wherever waters you swim, pretty good stuff. There's no doubt about it. So, Father, let's get into this thing, because we heard a little bit from you when you joined us the other day in the call-in lines. We'll get to some of that later in the Boy Green stories and things of that nature, but we got to break down the draft class first and get into all that jazz here. So, you ready to roll?
I am ready.
Okay, so we'll start off with the 11th overall pick, because the Jets traded back one spot. Remember, they were at 10. The Minnesota Vikings came calling. They did the old swap-a-rooney. They drop one spot, still get the guy, because, of course, the Vikings are going up for a quarterback, a position the Jets were not going to take. And they take offensive tackle Olu Fashanu out of Penn State. And as I look at the big board here, before we throw it over to you for evaluation, it seems like the one player – so there's multiple things they could have done. They could have taken a different offensive tackle if you preferred someone not Fashanu. I know a few people were Fuanga people, or Marius Mims, or what have you, or Troy Fountain, who ended up going 20th overall to the Pittsburgh Steelers. So that's first one, the choice of offensive tackle. And then the other choice was Brock Bowers, who ended up going a few picks later to the Las Vegas Raiders, which is sort of ironic in a weird way, because apparently the Jets were strongly considering taking Michael Mayer, the Notre Dame tight end, last year. They didn't. Raiders take him. Jets were considering taking Brock Bowers. They didn't take him. Raiders take him again. I don't know what all that means, but that's kind of an interesting little fun fact. So first off, I guess we'll start off there on the initial decision of trading back. Awesome. And then going with Fashanu over the other offensive tackles that were available. The only two that weren't were J.C. Latham and Joe Alt. Both of those guys went ahead. So they have their third choice of anyone on the board. So offensive tackle choice and not picking Brock Bowers. Where'd you stand on those decisions?
Yeah. First of all, a couple things. One
Sure.
is I'm sure everybody watching is rocking their Boy Green merchandise, and I'm sure Boy
Yeah, I'm
Green's
working
gonna
on the
put
shop. I'm
something.
working. I'm working.
You're gonna put that in the comments so people can go buy their shirts if they don't have
Yes.
them.
Yeah.
Anyways, first before we get to that, I'd like to say that the police are searching for Joe Douglas because apparently he pulled up his van outside the schoolyard, was offering free puppies and candy to children, and apparently the Minnesota Vikings were interested.
Mm.
And so he robbed them, whatever other word you'd like to use, to swap picks, get free money in the bank. So that was an expert move. So I will give credit where credit was due. I will take some credit away later, but this was probably just stealing. So I can't go by without saying that. As far as the decision,
Yeah.
I believe for the Jets to go offensive tackle instead of tight end was made months ago. They didn't make that decision Thursday night. They're not like debating, right? This is the ultimate what if game that you play and set yourself up. And they didn't sit there and ponder if they were going to take Brock Bowers or Olu. They had rated it out. It might have been a decision if Olu was their guy, and apparently he was, and he wasn't available. But this is how they had it laid out all along. That's what I believe. As far as Brock Bowers, it's kind of a mixed bag, in my opinion. Apparently, they feel very comfortable with where they're at with tight end because they didn't look further. There was plenty available later on when they had all those picks in the fourth. And so I like Olu as a choice for offensive tackle. I believe he was in my mock draft, as well as I understand that they feel they have the right talent in the tight end room. So I'm good with the pick. I thought they might go Bowers, but I think they had this planned all along.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say is I'm glad that the Jets took my advice that it was, for me, Brock Bowers or bust. If you take Brock Bowers, compelling. There's a lot of interesting reasons why you could have taken him. But if you don't take another tight end in the class. While there were some other interesting, talented ones, it was Brock Bowers and then everybody else. There was a massive chasm between Brock Bowers and the other tight ends on the board. And looking at the entire Jets draft class, they didn't take a single other tight end in the class. So I'm pleased with those results. So that was the only other piece, piece of the puzzle. Any other final thoughts on Olu before we move on to their next pick?
No, I think it was a good pick for the Jets. And then I would tell you the Jets were in the interesting position of drafting for the now and for the future, maintaining that balance. And we'll talk about the overall grade later on, but this was one which is a combination of both. They're playing for the future and for the now here with the volatility of the offensive line. So this is a great pick at number one.
Yeah, and I'll just push back, not on you, but to the people a little bit, because I've been hearing a lot of crap about picking Fashanu, and I just don't understand. To me, he was my favorite offensive lineman, not named Joe Alt, so they get him. I like the player, number one. He has left tackle ability, and he's going to get to learn from one of the best to ever do it, in Tyron Smith. And we'll talk about that for some other of these prospects are going to have unique opportunities to learn from the room, but I just don't get it. Now you have premium insurance, and it helps out in a lot of ways. We'll be talking about some of these topics I'm about to bring up in a future episode this week, because we have to break it all down and layer it. But having Olu Fashanu, and I wrote this last night, and it's an article actually that'll be dropping in an hour on Heavy on Jets, is now Elijah Vera-Tucker isn't going to tackle. If something happens to Tyron or Morgan, Fashanu is the first call off the bench. It's not AVT. The Jets promised AVT that he would stay at guard, whatever the position they pick, which ends up being guard for the future. But Joe Douglas lies all the time. He also said back in 2020, Jamal's going to be a Jet for life. 3 months he was traded. So Joe Douglas has lied all the time. So just because he told AVT they promised him to keep him in one position, I wasn't so sure if he was going to keep that promise. With Fashanu, that makes me feel a lot more confident, because now he can keep him at guard, and you don't even have to be tempted by the football gods to jump over to tackle to fill that hole. So that's a kind of a secret sauce thing to the pick that I really like. All right, let's jump on over to the third round. Remember, the Jets did not have a second-round draft choice because of the Aaron Rodgers trade. Now, originally, they were supposed to pick 72 in the third round, but they trade up to the first pick in the third round to select Malachi Corley, the Western Kentucky wide receiver. According to Joe Douglas and insiders, the Jets were trying to trade for Corley since the middle of the second round. That's a guy that they targeted. That's someone that they were going after. Now, in terms of other players, we kind of get into a big pile here a little bit later of guys that the Jets could have had. Cooper Beebe went to your Cowboys a handful of picks later. Trey Benson, I know Ricky New York's in here. He was a Trey Benson guy. They went running back plenty later. We'll get into that here on the show. But besides that, I'm not seeing anything as I kind of peruse through the second round. Roman Wilson, I guess they could have went with a different wide receiver choice for those that were curious. But besides that, scanning through the whole second round here, that might have been the only other potential decision there for the Jets at 65. So what do you make? Aggressive trade up, and then they get Malachi Corley, a Deebo Samuel-like clone.
Yeah, I love this pick for the Jets. This is the compliment they needed as a weapon. We needed a weapon. They've got a weapon. You know, it now matches, right? We have the discount double jet with Aaron Rodgers, and we have Malachi Corley, who is the Yak champion, and soon to be coming to a theater near you is a Yak chain, as he was a yard after catch leader in FBS. And they also have this unusual stat of forced missed tackles, which is something I'd not necessarily heard a lot of before, but apparently he led FBS in forced missed tackles. And so you're like, well, he was at Western Kentucky. You know, what does that mean? And then he goes up and puts a 4.26 down on the 3-cone drill, which is all about forcing missed tackles. So I think this is a phenomenal pick. You know, this guy is you look for the intangibles, right? I was listening to Bill Polian yesterday on ESPN, and he was talking about, you know, he reduced the workload of his scouting department because he wanted them to focus on the intangibles. So he used to cover 40 schools. He had them cover 20 and hired more people to focus on the intangibles. The intangible here is he could have transferred to a different school, right? He chose not to. He expected to be drafted, you know, in the first 3 rounds and chose to do something with his community to celebrate his draft party. So this is a character guy. He didn't enter the transfer portal after his junior year, and I don't think that's because he was afraid. It was more because of loyalty. So in the era of people not even playing in bowl games as their final game of their college career, this gentleman took it the next step forward to stay with Western Kentucky, to stay with the girl he brought to the prom. So really couldn't say more better about this pick.
Yeah, and I'll just champion that a little more. Malachi Corley and his media availability. I'll tell you guys, I've not caught up on all the media availability for everyone on day 3 because of the surprising JFM trade that was sprinkled into the mix and playing catch up on that. So I will catch up on all that, and you guys will see all those clips on social media when I get to it. But I did see Malachi Corley's, and I'm glad I did, because specifically to your point, after his amazing 2022 season where he had 100-plus catches, 1,200 yards, and a bunch of touchdowns, he had, according to Malachi himself, he had NIL offers on the table between $350,000 and $400,000. And remember, this is a kid that grew up small town Kentucky kid, moved a little bit all over the place, but was in Kentucky, small town, small high school graduating class, and all this other stuff. I imagine that's the forbidden fruit, a bag of money to do whatever the hell you want with. But he did. He stuck to his morals. He stuck to everything and said, you know what? It's not about the money. That's not why I got into this. And I love he saying this, loves the loyalty and relationships. He said he's a relationship guy, to have that with Western Kentucky to stick around. Now, it's fair to your point. People still had the massive questions about competition. And what I say is, if you have the competition questions, The only thing you can ask yourself, because we can't drop him on a different team, he spent his entire collegiate career Western Kentucky. Did he kick ass at Western Kentucky? Checks notes, yes, he did. He was big fish, small pond, and he proved it. If he was in the small pond and played down to the level, that's where you raise your serious questions about competition. But I did not have that watching him. So a very exciting player. And people always ask, well, why did he fall to the third round then? He's not who's a really good route runner. He's not Keenan Allen, okay? He's not running this full dynamic route tree. He's just an angry runner. You get the ball in his hands and they figure it out. That's what Western Kentucky tried to do to him. And in a way, we've mentioned this on a few other broadcasts, but he does what you wanted Brock Bowers to be. Get the ball in his hands, break a bunch of tackles, and go work. He brings that element of kind of what you were looking for in Brock anyway to the offense. So that's pretty exciting. So Malachi Corley, wide receiver on the board. Go ahead, Pop.
Yeah. Just one thing there, right? So where does the playing field get leveled for the small school guy, right?
Yeah.
So there was a lot of small school people that weren't the Yak King, right? And the other thing, the playing field gets leveled when the guy with a stopwatch at the combine with a bunch of guys running around their underwear and the 3-cone drill. And that's where the playing field gets leveled.
Right.
And he stood out there. So that's for people that say, what about small school? There it is. Everybody was in the same school in that building at the combine.
I guess I'll just squeeze this question since it ends up being the question. Malachi Corley ended up being the only wide receiver the New York Jets took this entire draft class. Do you have any criticism of that fact?
Yeah, I don't. I think with the free agent signings, I'm going to say this, I can only hope, right? Everybody, we all are armchair quarterbacks, right?
Sure.
I can only hope with what they have done, the trades they have done, and what they see with what they currently have.
Mm-hmm.
And I hesitate to say it, Lazard, right? That they think they have what they need.
I see.
And so I'm comfortable, at least in the wide receiver room, that's all the direction they went there.
All right, fair enough. I will try to play the questions people may be asking themselves as we're going through this draft, so I'll try to sprinkle in a few of those there. Again, the only thing I guess you could have said is if you were more so Roman Wilson fan, for what position the Jets could have went there in terms of the players that went off the board. Now, we have a large gap of time here because initially, as this completes day 2 of the draft and the Jets headed to day 3, on paper, the Jets had 3 fourth-round draft choices, but there was a ton of movement here. They moved back once, seemingly lost the draft value trade on that. Seemed a bit bizarre, but then they were able to flip one of those picks that they got for a future 3 from the Detroit Lions in 2025. Very nice. And then they traded back with the other one to get a pair of 5th-rounders from the San Francisco 49ers. And then they moved some more of that later. So we'll try not to confuse you, kind of go piece by piece. So long story short, after a flurry of moves, they only ended up with 1 4th-round draft choice, and that ended up being Braylon Allen, the Wisconsin running back, who brings some Brutus beefcake to the table at 6'1", 235 pounds. Seems like, in theory, the perfect complement potentially to Breece Hall, considering running styles, if that was something that revved certain engines potentially from that perspective. And the only thing I was just double checking here, because he was the penultimate pick in the 4th round, was there any other players? I guess Cam Hart, for our cornerback fans. A lot of people were the Notre Dame Cam Hart fans. He went a few picks later in the 5th round. Your boy, Audric Estime, ended up going another Notre Damer, went a few picks after that in the 5th round. Spencer Rattler was another one early in the 5th round. Jeremiah Trotta Jr., and Mo Kamara. Actually, wow, there was a lot of players that ended up going in the 5th. So I guess they could have potentially went in a different direction. What do you make of this Brutus beefcake, this big boy getting added to the Jets backfield? That continues a Joe Douglas streak of running backs in the 4th round, third time out of 5 years.
Yeah, and I think it really spoke to the running back class this year that you had this glut of running backs in the 4th round. He is exactly, if you remember back to a few shows ago, he's exactly the type of running back that I wanted the Jets to get. Thunder and lightning, this the pounder, the versatility. So I'm not. I'll just for a second say that this is the reason they picked Braylon Allen as opposed to Audric Estime is because Audric went to the combine and ran the 40, and Braylon refused to. Okay, So, when you go to the combine, you put it out there, right? There's a risk. And so that risk is Audric Estime was probably 10 to 15 draft picks because he decided to run at the combine. Braylon decided he was not going to run at the combine, citing whatever he cited. But he is the right type of running back. He's not a great receiver. That's not what we need him for. If he was, Hackett wouldn't figure it out until halfway through the season. But the only thing I'll say here, and this is a very skim-like view, so hopefully the hate doesn't come out there. I do have a character concern here, and what I mean by that is nothing pisses me off more than somebody. So this NIL thing, all this other stuff, that's great. Yeah, people have been getting money to go to college for a long time, right?
We forgive you, Reggie Bush. We forgive you, pal.
You go to don't get into that. You go to University of Notre Dame for school for 4 years, get full ride, room and board. You just made upwards of between $250,000 and $500,000. So this whole NIL thing. But anyways, you owe that university to play in that bowl game. And Braylon Allen opted not to, right? He opted not to. And his production went down in 2023. I know he had some lower, he had fewer carries. He had some lower body injuries, but overall, right type of running back, exactly the complement they need. Who knows if he was the best available, but I can't say a lot bad about him. There is some little, everybody's going to look out for themselves. I don't want to make a big deal out of not playing the bowl game, but it happened. And he could have played and supported his teammates. So,
yeah, I think ultimately this will end up being a generational thing because I'm in that camp of I don't like that sort of thing. I understand why people are doing it. Christian McCaffrey is another one who ended up going top 10 of the draft. He was, I think, one of the first ones that started this era of skipping the bowl game. He skipped his, and all of a sudden people said, "Ooh, we could do that." And then it really came in a flurry over the last decade, basically, of people really doing that. So blame Christian McCaffrey, that bastard, for being selfish.
I'd love to. The other thing I'd say, I don't think that if you're comparing him to others, his explosiveness as demonstrated at the combine with his vertical leap and the broad jump and all that stuff was not up there with some, but he did get the second most bench presses of running back. So there's some strength there, the explosiveness, but this is the prototypical running back we needed to complement our team.
Yeah, and I'll only add this, pass protection was a big thing I've heard about his game. So I'm still evaluating and learning even more about these prospects and what we've learned over the last couple of months. And like I said, we will have a draft expert. He should be on tomorrow to, break down the class and give us any additional insight into who, when, where, why, and all these other questions. But good and pass pro, that should also help for Aaron Rodgers, an extra level of protection. Now we dip into the 5th round where the Jets ended up with 3 5th-round picks in a wild turn of events. There's also the JFM trade, which, I guess I'll just squeeze that in right now real quick. In the middle of the draft, we had a quick video out on this. I also have a couple of columns out on this JFM thing. Joe Douglas's explanation for it, which is kind of interesting. And then the rumors, we actually talked about this on the morning show the day before about the possibility of this. We had written articles this week speculating if a JFM trade was out there. So nailed it. But anywho, let's get into it. The Jets trade JFM to the Denver Broncos for a 2026, not this year, not next year, the year after that, 2026 6th-round pick is what they end up flipping him for, and what is essentially a salary dump move for the New York Jets. Did you have an initial thought on this?
Yeah, I think that we got that weird thing with Zach Wilson. That's commensurate with what he's shown in his skills. Mm-hmm. That the value here, again, our value was we got rid of the salary cap money because after the free agency we signed, we needed to get some cap space. They had us over a barrel, if you will. So that's why you can get a 6th-round pick sometime around the next centennial. But the value is not there. This is an every down starter. And to get a 6th-round pick not every down, but you know what I'm saying, of
Yeah, no, I got you.
significant contributor to the defense, and to get a 6th-round pick, 4 or 5, whatever it is down the road, they knew they had us where they wanted us, and we had to make a move. And I know that we had gave him permission to seek a trade a few weeks ago, and there was
Correct.
nothing out there based on his salary. So, and the Denver's already signed him to a contract yesterday. So, obviously, everything was lined up for them. So, it was a win for us with the salary cap. I don't think the production with what the additions we made will be okay, but it just seems like we could have done a little better.
Yeah, a couple of things there. I will give you guys the contract in a second. This was Joe Douglas yesterday explaining it. He said, yeah, that was a difficult one because when we made the trade for Hassan Reddick with the Philadelphia Eagles, we knew it was going to be next to impossible to keep JFM at his salary. I talked to JFM. I talked to his representation. They were great. We opened it up and let them explore trade elsewhere. So that was a few weeks ago, obviously, after we traded for Hassan. By the way, Reddick has 1 year left on his deal. He's set to count $15 million against the cap this year. He also plays the same position as JFM. Douglas did reveal during the presser last night after the draft that they broached the topic of JFM taking a pay cut. And Douglas basically said it was a brief conversation, but the gap was too far of what JFM was willing to go to. Because, again, this would have been a straight-up pay cut, not a restructure. They wanted him to take less money, and that's what they were going to force to happen. He refused to do it, essentially, so they end up trading him. They do sign a new 2-year deal with Denver, so JFM shredded up his contract, took a pay cut. It's a 2-year deal for $15 million, $10 million of that fully guaranteed. He was set to get $29 million in real money from the Jets, and he was going to count $33 million against the cap in totality over the next 2 years. So again, he takes a massive pay cut for it to happen. And from the Jets side, they're blaming it on the Hassan Reddick thing, although they were kind of hopeful that maybe JFM would just take a massive pay cut and chase a ring and let's go do this thing. But, a warrior, team player, just another salute to the guy. It's a great story. He was always a solid player. He wasn't spectacular. He averaged 4.4 sacks in his 4 years with the Jets, but very good against run defense at his position. He was 10th best in run defense win rate on ESPN's advanced analytics. So that will be a part they will have to try to replace. But hey, you make all these big moves, somebody's got to pay the price. So that ends up being JFM in this scenario. Just wanted to squeeze that in there for that conversation.
Yeah,
All right,
just remember.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hassan Reddick, right? What was my stone cold lock? Right, he was going to be the running for defensive player of the year next year. This helps that case out. I just want to get that back out there.
Oh, for sure. That increases his snaps, and also Will McDonald's, who's the former first-round pick from last year. A lot of people question how many more snaps is he going to get. You start counting the defense linemen, Jermaine Johnson's, Hassan Reddick's, this, that, or the other. Will McDonald goes up another rung on the ladder. He'll have a chance to prove himself. But yeah, defense player of the year. Yeah, sign me up if he's in that running. That's good news for the New York Jets. All right, we got a triple pack, a triple header of fifth rounders, and the Jets moved up. They finally select their quarterback of choice. That is Jordan Travis out of Florida State, who they traded up to get. They gave up both of their 6 rounders. That's 185 and 190 to move up and to secure the services of Jordan Travis. They traded with the Philadelphia Eagles, ironically enough, and they get their long-term quarterback answer for Jordan Travis. He, by the way, had a gruesome, if you didn't see it, I will not reshare the video here, leg fracture that happened during the back end of the Florida State season. He and the Jets were non-committal on when his return date will be, but they said it'll be basically around training camp. Seems to be connecting the dots of what's going to happen there. But he's QB3 behind Aaron Rodgers and Tyrod Taylor. They take a young quarterback. I won't go into who they could have had elsewhere, just that they could have had different quarterbacks that they preferred. Pratt, who's a guy a lot of Jet fans wanted, didn't end up going to the very end of the 7th round. What do you make of the selection? What do you make of going quarterback? Some people didn't want the Jets to even go quarterback in this class. What do you make of all of it?
Yeah, and so overall, and I'll get back to the overall later, but most of the draft picks, most of the strategy, most of the moving, I was fully good with here. I think if there was a different quarterback, they could have, with all their picks and all their draft cap, they could have gone after Rattler.
Sure.
But so they didn't. They did exactly what, if you remember, what I wanted them to do is get that quarterback of the future. This reminds me very much of what the Cowboys did. I don't know, 8-9 years ago with Jalen Smith, right? Jalen Smith had the terrible injury in the bowl game, and the Cowboys still use their draft capital. They drafted him in the second round.
I remember it being the second round, and that was the Fiesta Bowl, and that was against Ohio State and Ezekiel Elliott. Going back, I'm seeing the memories of us watching that game together. That's wild.
And so that, to me, that's this. I don't know if they had to move up for him or not, but I love the pick. This Jordan Travis is the reason that Florida State was not part of the bowl championship series playoffs. And how they would have done. And then, frankly, 90% of the Florida State team not even showing up to play in the bowl game. But which pisses me off. But anyways, Jordan Travis, I love the pick here. This is exactly what they needed to do. And they got a good talent at a discount price. If he had played out the season, just a few more games, he would have been part of that glut, maybe almost into the first round. So this is a great, at least the second round. This is a great opportunity, great buy, and a good move for the future.
Yeah, I'm so excited for the kid. Again, I haven't got to see the full. I like watching it myself. I don't normally like just paying attention to clips, but he was getting very emotional, wiping away tears with the Jets drafting him and him having this opportunity. So it's really exciting for the young man. And I said this before, whoever the young quarterback is, Jordan Travis, Michael Pratt, Spencer Rattler, who I was kind of intrigued by the deeper we were getting in the draft, but the Saints ended up snagging him 150th overall. He was intriguing to me, but I'm happy with Travis that through pure osmosis, at a bare minimum, being in the room with a 4-time NFL MVP and someone who's been in the league for a decade like Tyrod, how can you not just get better at the game of football being in that room doing nothing? Like if you were a dead body in the room, you would probably get something out of it. And if you're halfway, which it seems Jordan Travis is more than that, of eager to learn and ask questions. I heard some of that from his press conference from what people were saying, that he can't wait to call Rodgers and like learn more about him and all of this of the game of football. He seems eager. That's exciting. And this is a redshirt year, essentially. He shouldn't get anywhere near the field. Hopefully he gets healthy enough to get in some preseason action come August. But yeah, that's really exciting, because I think it would be a wasted opportunity for no young quarterback to be in that room to try to learn and gain something of value from these two veterans that have been around the block. So that part's incredibly exciting. So I love this pick. And Dad, I'll be honest, I don't know what people say of you, but people say of me, one of the criticisms I hear is, Paul, I hate your optimism. It's disgusting. Okay, tip of the cap there. And the other thing is that kind of in that same breath, Paul, you just think everything's great. You could get punched in the face and you'd say, wow, that's pretty good for the Jets. Okay, nice. I'm going to be honest, Pop, the next pick on here, a little confusing. Yep, that's a running back again. South Dakota State, Isaiah Davis, 2 picks after Jordan Travis. They did take a running back in the 4th round. That was Braylon Allen. So when you start counting them all up, this was the first one that was strange. It was confusing. The Connor Hughes of SY used the term puzzling. So now you have Breece Hall. Okay. You've got Braylon Allen, the brand new 4th round pick out of Wisconsin. You got Isaiah Davis and Israel Abanikanda. While they sung all the sweet songs, Joe Douglas went, competition, that room's looking real nice. Salah's like, yeah, man, competition, that's important. Más importante. I'm like, okay, coach. Okay, guy. It seems like to me, and I'm going to write a piece about this, it seems like a huge indictment on Israel Abanikanda and all the crazy-ass fans that have been in my mentions for months saying Izzy's the true RB2. He may not even make this roster based on what we're seeing. So it has nothing to do with the player, who I'm hoping to hear a little bit about from you, from South Dakota State, the old Jackrabbits, which he seems like a good kid himself, and I heard a lot of hubbub about him throughout this process. But it's about the position for me that's very puzzling, taking another running back. Interesting.
Yeah, this was very confusing. And what's even more confusing is he is pretty similar to Braylon Allen in size. And,
very much so, yeah.
Yeah, so that's confusing.
Stylistically. Mm-hmm.
And, this, we'll get to the whole wrap-up later, but this was this was a miss. This makes no sense. And this is one, if you want to talk about, we talk about Malachi Corley. If you want to talk about somebody like, well, how does it stack up? This is an FCS guy, right? Mm-hmm. This is an FCS guy. Did he get a lot of yards? Sure. But realize this. This is the little known nugget, right? The FCS has a full playoff system. So this jackrabbit, if you will, his yards are skewed, right? When you compare his season yards, they are skewed when you go like for these other people in the BCS, right? He's played more games than they have, right? Significant, right? He gets a couple hundred extra yards in the playoffs. Oh, look, this cat had 1,600 yards last year. Did he? No. You got to look at it, and then you really got to say, well, who was this jackrabbit running against, right? And so he's pulling away. He's pulling away from people. He's not the fastest guy on the planet. He's a big kind of guy. When you watch the tape, he's pulling away from people. He's pulling away from people because he's watching. The guy chasing him is Johnny, the bagger from the Price Chopper, right? Who next year is going to be bagging groceries. So he's running away from him. So this, it makes no sense. It was a waste of a pick. It was a lack of need. And they're definite. We'll get to wrap up. There were needs left on the table. And to go we could have taken 5 offensive players in the first 5 picks. We could have. Just not this one.
Yeah. I will give you some of the BP on the board, and boy, there were some names that were available that the Jets passed up on, which is curious, to say the least. Malik Washington, the smaller wide receiver to Virginia, wildly productive. A lot of people had him in the 3rd round. He ends up going ultimately here in the 6th round, a few picks after. The immediate pick after, Johnny Wilson, the big-ass dude from Florida State, he goes to the Philadelphia Eagles. That one, whether you would have went defensive tackle, Mekhi Wingo, the other LSU defensive tackle, was another one that went off the board. Man, I'm just seeing a bunch of juicy names here in the 6th round that the Jets could have gone in a different direction from a position perspective, from linebackers to man, there's just a lot of stuff in here. But my biggest probably complaint is all the receivers that went shortly thereafter, like Malik Washington and Johnny Wilson and things of that nature. Maybe they just didn't want to go too small, I guess, with the Malik Washington. But he could have certainly added a Johnny Wilson, which would have been pretty exciting. So, like I said, bizarre. And I think this is an indictment on Izzy. I know you guys are saying in the comments, different style guys. You have Breece Hall, who's explosive. You kind of have Braylon and Isaiah, who are close. And then you have Izzy. I just don't know many teams that utilize 4 different running backs in a natural offense. I don't see that a lot. So again, to me, I'm just a little puzzled, and it could spell doom for Izzy. Izzy to the hizzy just got thrown to 4th on the depth chart, I think. So that could be a problem. But we'll see how they all battle it out, and we'll see the decisions that are made there. But that one, to me, again, a little bit bizarre. All right, let's finish off the 5th round. I won't lie. This was one of my favorite players in the draft, one of my favorite stories in the draft. And this is a player we talked about with Ryan Roberts, our both NFL draft guru and Notre Dame specialist. I asked him about Quantz Stiggers because this is a player that the Jets brought in for a top 30 visit to do more homework on. And he's only the 3rd player in the common draft era to go from no college football, the Canadian Football League, to the New York Jets. And again, that is Quantz Stiggers, the cornerback from the Toronto Argonauts, which is spectacular. And he played in, again, it's a full story, so it's hard to kind of like encapsulate it in a few words, but this is a guy whose father died, and that sent him into depression. And then his mother tried to lure him out of the bedroom because he didn't leave the house. And then she saw fan-controlled football of all places, 7-on-7, and he thought it was a gimmick. He's like, I don't want to play in fan control. What even is that? And then he ends up playing it, which gets him a try on the CFL. And apparently the CFL coaches were like, he's never played college football. He's going to get cut in the first week. We can't wait to cut his ass, is what one of the Canadian football coaches said. And then he flipped the Canadian football coach with this powerful story and his drive and everything else. And he ends up being the rookie of the year last year in Toronto Argonaut football. So what a spectacular story. And then shout out to the Jets head of security, Bobby. Apparently he had a very moving thing on the phone call yesterday that went viral too on the draft call. Man, it's just touching. It's powerful. And man, this kid seems like he has a really good path, potentially not this year, but next year to be one of those key replacements, whether it's DJ Reed, Michael Carter II, or maybe even Brandon Eccles at corner. Dan, wow, what a powerful draft pick this was here in the 5th round.
Yeah, and this one really is, to me, is about the intangibles There is hopefully, this young man has gone through a lot of depression issues, and hopefully that's behind him. But the fortitude that he didn't play in a real professional football league until 15 months ago from high school.
Right.
From high school. He didn't play real football. I'll call it real football because, right, whatever.
I gotcha. I hear you.
He didn't play real football until 15 months ago. And so, this could be, there could be a Hallmark movie made about him down the road, the next Kurt Warner-esque type story. So very interesting. I think they drafted him in the 5th round because they dorked around with their 6th round picks. But I think they probably, and maybe they felt some heat and they felt, some rumblings that he wouldn't be around. So this is what this later in the draft rounds are all about. So I think overall a good pick.
Yeah, I'll just add on the Jordan Travis move up cost them both of their 6th round picks. So if they didn't select him here, their next pick is Mr. Irrelevant. So would have been a massive gap of time. Not sure if he would have been available or not been available. I'm quite frankly, I'm not sure. But the only thing I will add here on Quantz, which is kind of interesting, is on his the first words out of his mouth when he starts going kind of around the room. They pass him around the room to talk to everybody. Jeff Ulbrich gets on the phone and he's like, "Are you ready, kid?" He's like, "I'm ready to bring a Super Bowl to New York." Basically, it's like the first words out of his mouth. It's just, man, this kid is just cut from the right stuff. And I love that part of it too. They said because of all the trials and tribulations this young man has been through, where some people never go through that in their entire life. He went through it in his first 20 years or so on the planet. They said that will and motivation makes it think that there's no way. He's like the anti-bust. Like there's no chance he could bust because he has the talent. He has the drive, obviously, that a lot of people don't have, and that they believe. Connor Hughes of SNY was talking about it on a television hit, that he is going to inevitably will into existence a future starting role, which is spectacular because you don't always get that with the 5th round pick. So it's still just an amazing story that he was even drafted. Again, the 3rd Canadian football player to never play college football and go in there. That's history in the making within itself. But the rest of the story and the package is pretty cool. So it'll be an easy guy to root for. We'll have rookie mini camps and things of that nature coming up here in the following weeks. We'll keep you guys abreast on all of that. So spectacular story. Love the pick. There's nothing else I can say about it. And now we fast forward all the way to the end of the draft. Mr. Irrelevant again. The Jets traded both of their 6th rounders in the Jordan Travis move up, which is pick 257, is Jalen Key, only the 2nd player in Jets franchise history to be crowned Mr. Irrelevant. He ends up being a defensive back out of Alabama, thrown into the mix of the New York Jets. What can you tell us about him?
Yeah, so this will reflect a little my draft grade, right? The Jets needed more help at safety. It's unfortunate that they waited to Mr. Irrelevant. It was weird that the Jets didn't want to give up that pick, that they wanted to have Mr. Irrelevant. There may be a story there. But
yes, they denied it. Yeah, Adam Schefter shared it on the SportsCenter desk. So the Broncos originally say, all right, for Zach Wilson, we'll take Mr. Irrelevant from you and we'll give you this. And they refused. They said, no, we're good. And they're like, what? And they gave up the better pick to make sure. I guess Joe Douglas, he said it in the press conference after, he's never had Mr. Irrelevant and they wanted it. And I was like, oh, okay. So yeah, apparently They refused that. Hey, whoa, we're not doing that. That's where we draw the line in the Zach Wilson negotiation. So yeah, that was funny to hear.
And it was kind of silly because the other pick they had, I believe, was the one right before it, right?
256, correct.
Yeah.
The one pick right before it. Yeah.
Right. Anyways, it's all the same. But yeah, so a little fun fact is the Lozman Trophy is what you get for being Mr. Irrelevant. Is actually designed to be like the Heisman Trophy, only it's a person fumbling the football. You get a special full week's paid trip to California of roasting and a little trip to Disneyland, Disney World, whatever it is. I think, his resume is not long. He spent most of his time at UAB and a very just 1 year stint with a crowded Alabama defensive backfield. My only pick is I think they could have and should have done better at safety, put more attention there. This guy is cleaning out his garage in the draft. He wasn't even watching the draft because he felt like the rest of us that he wouldn't be selected. Hopefully he can come through. Most 7th round draft picks don't make the team. The Jets needed somebody that would make the team. So that's my feeling on Pitt. It's not really about Jalen. It's more about the Jets' strategy here. So yeah.
Yeah, the only other thing I will throw out, there's a chance that Stiggers, who, by the way, has full versatility in the secondary, he could ultimately end up at safety. We'll kind of see what the Jets decide to do there. So he could be another safety option. And then another quick word on the safety, because Robert Saleh, you never know. The Jets have had a history in the Robert Saleh era of converting guys, drafting safeties and immediately transitioning them to linebackers, which would make sense because Jalen ran a 4.6 40 at the combine, which is god-awful molasses slow. But Robert Saleh did confirm in the post-draft presser that he will stay at safety, and they say they see faster speed on tape than they saw at the combine. So he stuck by his guns and said he will not be transitioning to linebacker. He will remain a safety. So just one last nugget on that. And with that, that is the 2024 draft for the New York Jets. They end up with 7 players, 1 in the first, 1 in the third, 1 in the fourth, 3 in the fifth, and then 1 in the seventh. That rounds out the entire class for the New York Jets. All right, Professor, what's the grade, pal?
Yeah, so I'd like to grade this draft in segments.
Oh, please.
So I think it was overall the first 4 picks, I think were phenomenal, right? I didn't like the whole bunch of dorking around in the middle of trading around.
Yeah.
You know. So and then we left a lot of things on the table when we gave up some of the 6th-round picks. When we went running back second, right? We could have gone offensive line. We could have gone wide receiver. We could have moved the safety position there. So I have no issue with the Stiggers pick because I think that's the right one. The running back pick and the Jalen Key pick, those are the ones I think we failed at. We needed that pounding running back, and we got him. Was he the right one? Who knows? Very strong, very productive guy from Wisconsin. He produced for 3 years in a row, significant numbers for 3 years in a row at Wisconsin, Big Ten school. So I like it. I like the quarterback of the future. So the first 4 rounds, super solid. I think we could have done something much, much better with pick 173 with that second rank. That was just a waste, when we definitely needed the additional backing up on the offensive line and the safety. We could have addressed the safety sooner. So if we had taken as Isaiah with if he had been the Lozman Trophy winner, I think people still would have been not happy about it.
Right.
But it definitely was a mistake at 173.
Yeah, and plus, if you think about it, like 173, that's not a throwaway, people. That's a 5th-round draft choice is what Isaiah Davis was. So, and we've had plenty of 5th-round picks become massive contributors in the NFL. I'll ask you this as a quick follow-up before we go into the other parts of our program here. A criticism from the outside that I've heard already about this class is that there's no starters from this group, and the only one that, if you squint, this is from other people, is Malachi Corley. He might mix into the group as a rotational receiver. What do you make of that criticism of the Jets draft?
Yeah, I think that Malachi, I don't think the Jets lined up in the 12 formation very much, which means that there'll be a lot of 3 wide receiver sets. I think, and if we ask the people watching if they wanted Malachi in the field to Lazard, we could get a straw poll on that and see what that would look like.
Yeah.
Right. Malachi lined up in the slot the majority of his career, so we use him as a weapon. I think he's more than he may not be a on-field starter, but he's 1A and not. And the same thing with, I think Braylon Allen's going to see enough of the second punch. Right. The reason the Cowboys didn't make it past Green Bay and the times they struggled is because they let that pounder go. They didn't have the complement to Pollard. And I think the Jets saw some of that when they didn't utilize Cook as much as they could have. So those are 1As. They're not starters, but they're right there, right? They're, so I think that's, and then to have the backup and offensive line and the developmental quarterback. So yeah, you don't always need, to have the show ponies, but the start, they're right behind. It's hard to say. Will they get to say Paul Esden from the University of Notre Dame on the TV? No, but in the second play they could be in.
Yeah. I would also basically ask, maybe arrogantly, what John Sauer says here, what starters do we need? That's kind of been my response to people, is like the Jets were in a, if you want to call it first world problem, they did a lot of their work ahead of time. Trades, free agent signings, all kinds of creative ways of adding talent to this team, where really the thing they needed heading into this draft was important insurance plans. And I feel like they got him. They have the ultimate six man in Olu Fashanu, who could be a starter on any other team. He's not a raw player. He could play from day one, and people believe he'll be an elite pass protector right off the get-go. So that one you feel great about. And Malachi Corley, again, with the wide receiver evaluation, we'll see. I think we're probably going to get a lot more 12 personnel, both from a blocking perspective and also just kind of in general. So I am kind of interested to see where that goes. Okay, we got a massive YouTube super chat in here. So let's go to Moose City, baby. And well, mama, let's get this one in here. Thank you so much, Moose, for sending this in. Hey, guys, I think this draft is much better than people are saying. We have a strong roster, and I think the depth is why we struggled last year. Love the Allen and Corley pick. Again, thank you so much for that. Yeah, I will just kind of champion some of the things I was already saying here, Moose City, is that the depth was important. It was important at offensive tackle. For anyone who's complaining, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, go screw yourself, pal, because they like, it's the Conor McGregor thing. I apologize to absolutely no one. And that's what Joe Douglas should do. You're telling me that these people that are complaining about this Fashanu pick right now are the same ones in August. If Tyron Smith pulls a hammy, walk into the facility that goes, trusted Carter Warren, what an idiot. Some people just like to live and swim in the sewers of pessimism, and they hate no matter what the Jets do. And that's fine if you want to swim. I won't tell you guys what to do. I'm an optimistic guy, but I love the fact that Olu's going to get a chance. That's a rare chance. That's a first world problem, as Joe Douglas called it in his pre-draft presser ahead of time. He said whoever we draft is going to have a hard time making a starting job, but he said it's actually a good thing that they're going to have to learn and fight and all these other things. So Olu learning not only from Tyron, by the way, but Morgan Moses, who's also in that same kind of Aaron Rodgers, Tyrod Taylor thing, where you kind of have this superstar and then this guy who's been around forever and been very solid. That's exactly what Tyron Smith and Morgan Moses are. So it's only going to help the young man. And if history is any say, Tyron Smith hasn't played a full season since 2015. So inevitably, Fashanu is going to get on the field. And I think whenever he does, middle of the season, whenever that would come to be, I'm very excited about that. So Braylon Allen, he's talking about, and Malachi Corley. I think Braylon Allen is the perfect complement to Breece Hall. If that's what you're looking for, yin to yang, and I don't think he's going to be used that way. It's not like they're splitting carries 50-50, but if you're looking for a short yardage guy, and Braylon Allen was wildly successful in the advanced analytics and short yardage situations, goal line back. And here's the other part, and maybe this is what the Jets were thinking with the 4 running backs. I still don't buy this BS, but I will try to sell it. Is if the Jets are operating with more leads, which you think you would be with this defense, all the offensive additions, and Aaron Rodgers, you're going to have to grind out clocks at the end of games. And while Breece should get plenty of opportunities as the star RB1, you'd like any Brutus beefcake thrown back there to chew up carries just to get us through the end of the game. You don't want to really waste Breece Hall in those situations. You have to be very careful, for lack of a better word. You have to be very smart, very diligent, maybe is the proper word, with how you utilize Breece throughout a season, because you're hoping to get to the playoffs. We're hoping to get to the playoffs, baby. And if you're going to do that, you can't run Breece into the ground through the first 8 weeks of the season. So that's another piece of that puzzle. Any thoughts on Moose City here with the Corley Allen pick or anything of that nature?
Yeah, I agree that it's much better than people are talking about, and nothing more than what we already have.
Thank you, Moose City. All right, I got to visit there next time. Very nice. Plenty of meese on this roster, that's for sure. Multiple meese like that. Okay, scroll down. I appreciate that. So that is the full draft class for the New York Jets. Again, a very intriguing class, and boy, this Jets roster is looking pretty loaded on offense and defense, which is spectacular. So it's good to see. Good to see. All right, Pop, without further ado, we ready to dive into some alternative material here?
Yeah, actually, one thing.
Yeah, sure.
It really, and I think not taking Bowers, the Bowers discussion, not taking Bowers, I think the Jets coaching staff and the team valued Tyler Conklin more than we were giving credit for. What are we going to get if it's really a ready now, right? What are we really going to get with Bowers compared to Conklin? I think that's why we didn't go Bowers.
I think you're right. And the other thing is, it's they're doing the, and I don't mean this as a joke, but it just came into my mind, the Cowboys all in thing at tight end. And what I mean by that is you're going all in on the guys that are in the room. Conklin is heading into a contract year. Jeremy Ruckert only has 2 years left on his rookie deal. After this year, he'll be in a contract year. And then the other guys in the room, Zach Kuntz and Kenny Yeboah are all on 1-year deals. They're going to ride this out. And if they have to blow up the tight end room in a year from now, so be it. But I also do think it is that belief in T-Conk, my boy, who will have to get back on the show soon, Tyler Conklin. I think he is just, again, he already had a career high last year, tying that career high in receptions and yards and all that other things. He's going to get better with Aaron Rodgers. It's going to happen.
Absolutely.
Okay. Without further ado, are you ready for Boy Green story time?
All right, here we go. So
Okay.
This week, Boys Green Story Time, we're going to talk about, in 2016, I had to leave New York. I wasn't happy. I had to go to Mississippi. And by the way, last week I left Mississippi for the last time ever, which did not make me sad. But I will say that I was sad to leave, and I realized I needed to make sure that, we had been going to sporting events. Boy Green and I are very close. We need to set something up for the future. Not so we had the inaugural sporting event every year. We go do some things
Like a Father's Day kind of thing, but it's not on Father's Day, basically.
That's right. And so 2016, we went big. We started off with a bang. And so I just give the people on, we'll just walk through what that weekend looked like. It could have been the greatest sporting event weekend ever. So this is what it looks like every year.
Okay. Here's the first one. Okay. This is 2019, but
Now, this is 2019, but this is what we do. We go to a sporting event, and it could be anything. It could be the UFC. It could be college football. It could be and the NBA. We've seen several NBA games. We've seen several Major League Baseball games.
Yes.
We've seen Notre Dame, Syracuse play in 3 different venues in different states.
Yeah.
And so, Notre Dame games we've seen in Yankee Stadium, MetLife Stadium, and I just drew a blank for a second.
MetLife, Carrier Dome.
And the Carrier Dome. Yeah. But anyways, so this is this weekend, the first one ever, and we got to give a shout out. So the first event of this weekend in 2016, I believe it was September 29th of 2016, was momentous. It was your mother was responsible for it. And we went to see the Yankees, Red Sox. We're both Red Sox fans. Keep the booing down. We went to the Yankees, Red Sox, and this was the last game for David Ortiz, who Yankees fans are big fans of, I'm sure. But they did, Yankees organization is nothing but respect, and they did a big send-off. It was really special. It was cold, and the Red Sox lost, but it was great to see Big Papi, and we were in the upper deck right behind home plate. So great seats, great time, great way to kick off the sports weekend. So again, shout out to your mother there for getting those tickets.
I would just jump in to say, because I know this is going to come, I get it all the time. Paul, what the Boston Red Sox hell? Again, people, I get it. I get there are a lot of you out there that were New York born and bred. So you're Knicks and Yankees and Mets and all this other crap. Okay. I was born in a military family. We moved all over the place. My father was born in Gatineau, Mass. Okay. My mother was born in Rhode Island. So yes, I am a Red Sox fan. Yes, I am a Celtics fan. I have to bring that up once every year to try to explain what the hell's going on. I try to keep all my content Jets because I know none of you care about this, but I just want you to know it's a cool thing I get to share with my family. So I know we were going to get those comments. I just wanted to address that immediately from that perspective. But anywho.
Yeah, and just for the record, we did bury a David Ortiz jersey in the stadium.
Yeah.
Anyways, so we took a day off Friday. The only thing that might have made this better if there was a fight, a boxing match, UFC Friday night. So this was Thursday night game. We took a breather on Friday, and then Saturday. That year we had been Syracuse season football ticket holders. We've been that for about a decade. And so Saturday we were able to go see Notre Dame play Syracuse in MetLife Stadium on Saturday. And because of being season ticket holders, we got the tickets right there on the 20, like 10 rows from the field. So it was great. This was
great photo.
the game there was we were good. I think the next picture is how close we were to the field.
Oh yeah, let's see.
Notre Dame unfortunately beat Syracuse with a rusty wrench. I think it was 50. It was a shootout there for a while. The gunslinger Eric Dungy was
That's him right
throwing
there.
the ball all over the place for the Orange. So it was great time, great game. And but yes, the Notre Dame did beat him with a rusty wrench.
Yeah, and this was MetLife Stadium, the old Jet stomping ground. So we've been there for both Jet games and games of other realms. So yeah, that was great memories here. Great memories here.
Yep. So that was Saturday, and then of course Sunday.
Oh yeah, here we go.
We headed back to MetLife
wait.
Stadium. I skipped the picture there. That's all right. We headed back to MetLife Stadium. This is our picture. The Seattle Jets game.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, the Jets lost this game. If you could click over the next picture. The Jets lost this game, and this is, I was a big Fitzmagic fan, but he threw a hat trick of interceptions this game. But it was good to be there. Back to back games at MetLife Stadium, Saturday and Sunday. So this was it. Saturday night, Red Sox. Thursday, Red Sox Yankees. Saturday, Notre Dame's Orange, and then we got to see the Jets on Sunday. So this was. I also believe I told you that this was not how every weekend was going to go. So not to get too wound up.
Impossible. Hey, little Johnny, you want to taste caviar, son? Sweet. Oh, that's tasty. Well, of course, we're going to have to go back to the ramen tomorrow, son. Ramen with caviar on it. So it's standards. Once the line was drawn in the sand, there was just no going back. It was already there. But yeah, we've had some. It's pretty cool that this idea, and for people, and I really hope you guys get to cherish, the time with your family. Because of my work and my father's work, we're on other sides of the planet all the time. Thankfully, we've gotten rid of the Mississippi locations now. It's a little more East Coast action happening here. That should help things a little bit, I imagine. But I would just say that you guys should cherish it. We tried it. I think not everyone can do this, of course, but if you could try to make it work with your family to try to do things, it's harder as we're adults. We all have lives going on and different things going on. It's very difficult to make time, but I love the dedication that we've kind of made here to each other, that once a year, we're just going to figure it out. We're going to do something together and just kind of cherish it. And we'll do it for as long as hopefully we can do it for. So that's just been something. Obviously, it's cool to do the sporting events, but it's even cooler to spend the time with the ones. Exactly what Mitch says. Good life lesson is life is short, and you really need to make the time to enjoy life. So I really hope that's a resounding message as we're kind of going through all these fun stories and stuff. But this one in particular, it's so cool to be able to spend time and do awesome events and stuff like this, but it's the time shared, because as adults, it hits me every time that we're together. I just try to take a moment to step back, go, man, I used to live with this guy, and we were like every day there was something, but you don't realize it in the moment because you're an adolescent, you're a teenager. Oh, rebel, screw you, screw the man. I'm doing my own thing. You try to rush and get out of the house and do things, and then you look back 10, 15 years later, and you're just like, holy crap. Look at this. Look at that situation. It's just, it's kind of wild. So this is a good trip down memory lane, and hopefully a constant reminder to everyone out there. Hopefully after this, you guys call your parents if you still have them alive, and really just kind of cherish it.
Yep. And so just to be, this is great. Happy to share it. Next week, we'll bring you humiliation back, just for the record.
Yeah, we'll throw away all the mushy crap for all you guys. We'll throw that in the garbage. Okay.
Yeah, it'll be
other photos here.
It'll be the Boy Green picky eating discussion, which is will be some. Yeah, well, that's all I'll bring up.
A good tease, there. All right, we're well over after an hour, Dad. So I can respect it if you just want to cut the cord. Any calls, or just kind of call it a day here.
Well, we can take a couple calls, and someone asked why we're putting that in there. Remember to buy the Boy Green merch. We're going to get them to do some coffee cups, some Yeti.
Yeah, I got to fix it all. Yes, yeah. I'm just going to be honest. I screwed up the shop and did something, and I've been trying to fix it for a while. So yes, I will add new stuff, and there's been a lot of requests for different things. I will try to recalibrate all of that here in the near future. It's on my list of things. for sure. So I will work on that diligently. So you guys can get all your stuff if you guys are interested in that.
While you're working on that in the chat, we will set up
Yes.
the show closer to after the 53-man roster. We'll think coming back and talking about the draft class in reflection. A lot of conversations that, in 3 years now we should see where we're at. That's true. But also who makes a 53-man roster and the expanded practice squad roster be interesting as well.
Yes, that is now the pinned comment on YouTube. If you're watching anywhere, we have 700 plus people in the room. If you're watching on Facebook, Heavy on Jets, thank you to my heavy bosses for making this show possible. And Twitter.com @BoyGreen25. You have to be on YouTube to see the call-in link to the show, which again is youtube.com/BoyGreen25. And yeah, the only other note on the draft is they end up taking 7 guys. I kind of complained earlier this week that, man, the New York Jets really need to not have 7. Are there 7 guys on the roster? 7 spots on the roster? We will find out. There should be some intense competition to come. So
yeah.
final.
But I'll tell you, everybody looked at the draft people, and there's things lacking. I think 7 was the right number, especially with the expanded practice squad and the flexibility of the practice squad this year. Mm-hmm. So I think it was the right number because people are like, well, they wanted more offensive line, more wide receivers. And then we just have the open competition.
Plus, I think there's veterans coming, to be honest with you. With only the one wide receiver ad of Malachi Corley, I'm kind of curious. Do they dive into the Tyler Boyd or OBJ Waters for a ring-chasing bucket? Like, hey, we're not giving you $1 kajillion. This is all you're getting. Jump on the ride or don't. They could do that. I think the Bakhtiari thing is probably dead. I don't know why he would come on to be a 4th swing tackle. That seems too aggressive. So I think some of the moves eliminated moves in the draft, and some of the draft moves kind of made you curious, is anything else coming? So more on that to come. Okay, the phone lines. Yeah, go ahead.
By the way, I think there's 2 things. You can't say Bruce Beefcake anymore for like a few months hiatus.
Okay.
And let's put OBJ on that list as well as words you cannot use for a while because you're going to make me vomit on
most Jet fans. I'm like the only one, and people hate it when I bring it up. Like, I lose followers on Twitter every time I bring up. I'm like, OBJ wouldn't be too bad. They're like, Paul, shut up already, you bastard. I'm like, okay, just say it. And they're like, we'd rather you not just say.
Yes, I'm with them. I'd rather you not just say it.
Yeah, it seems that way. All right, let's go to the phone lines. We got a lot of names here. All right, let's go to Phenom joining us here on the show. What's up, brother?
Good morning, gentlemen. I came in late. This is your father?
This is my father, yes.
Good morning, Pops.
Good morning.
Absolutely. What you guys said, the quality time with family is super important. You'd rather be having a great time when you're together than have to go to that morning situation that we all have to go through. So I second that thought. Getting back to football, which is our family sport.
Yeah.
I mean, this draft was a sound one as far as, getting a big tackle. We had been at months at war with, are you team tackle or are you team weapon? And, right before the draft, I put together the top 10 players that I would like to see the Jets draft. And I had Marvin Harrison on top.
Yeah.
We talked about this before, Boy Green. He was one of my favorites. Alt. And then Olu Fashanu was the third guy that Malik Neighbors was there. And then Olu. It was
okay. Top 4.
So to get the second best tackle on my board was exactly what I wanted. I mean, it was a pipe dream really for,
of course,
Marvin Harrison and Neighbors. I mean, I was happy when they went off the board. It's just like when you do a fantasy football draft. Oh, scratch those guys off, those guys off, and it makes the board really simple. And Joe Douglas had to do that as well. The brilliant part was him moving back into the early part of the 3rd round. We wanted to get into the 2nd, and then when Malachi Corley came across the board, that's like almost like the picking up those players in the draft with Sauce and those guys.
Oh yeah,
and had that same
2022.
feeling, right? That we would that something was being built here. We had saw it happen in the free agency period where we put this solid group together but we wanted more. And to see then to see we had done mock drafts and we had actually drafted Braylon Allen and Jordan Travis in those kind of drafts. I mean, this thing was like put together to a T. Now, like your pop said, there was some sliding. I mean, making some moves so we could get some more resources. So I thought those are the really good moves he made. I mean, okay, we don't really want this guy. We're not super high on these people, or we need some more resources to make moves. So I just thought, all in all, and then the undrafted free agents, this guy, Leonard Taylor, I was looking at him last night.
Yeah.
He's a beast in the edge from Michigan, McGregor.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I saw that.
He's not a joke. Those guys can make the team. So, I mean, the UDFAs, if you go through their profiles, we got guys that can run 4.4 and have one guy has 29 yards a catch. That's Wesley Walker, baby. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
right.
So it's unbelievable.
And I'll just add this. You said, it's funny, you said the fourth player on your board, right, is Olu. Well, Connor Hughes says the fourth wide receiver on the Jets board was Malachi Corley. You had Marvin Harrison Jr., you had Malik Neighbors, you had Rome Odunze, and they say, Connor Hughes from the Jets draft board, the next highest receiver they had. It wasn't the Brian Thomas Jr.'s or the Buffalo, Florida State kid that they got or anything, that it was Malachi Corley. So for them to get him and have him that highly, fourth on the board. Okay, sign me up, baby. So that's exciting.
Sign me up too, baby. Let's sign that contract with the quickness. So, just an unbelievable draft. And but this is going to be like a soap opera. It's all going to play out. There's going to be guys that are falling by injury. But, oh, boy. Look at this receiving core. Look at this tight end room. Look at this whole offense. Boy, we can run the football. Oh, boy, can we run the football.
Next stop, the Super Bowl, baby.
Yeah, can we come back from behind? In a pinch, I think the answer is yes. Do you want to do that all the time? No. Should we be ground and pound? Absolutely. Are we going to be playing with leads? Of course. So what promise this season has?
Exactly.
Just like last year.
Get ready. Let's organize the parade. let's get the fireworks ready. I'm ready, baby. We're going to the Super Bowl.
Absolutely, man. But,
thanks for the call, Phenom, brother.
Absolutely. If I had a cup of coffee, this would have been just like us in the cafe.
That's exactly it. And that's what I hope it is for people, to be honest with you, that we have a little bit of that. We have a segment on our radio show. It's called What's Trending Around the Water Cooler. And it's all of us sitting at the bar together to be able to talk. So I hope everyone else kind of gets that same feeling as we're hanging out here, me and my pop. And, say good morning to Raya Luna, my beautiful 2-year-old daughter, joining us. For our audio listeners, you may not have heard her yet, but she'll make her presence known. There's no question about it. But joining us here on the video screen. Let's get to a couple more calls here. All right.
Wow.
We've got... Say hello. It's Pop. All righty. Perhaps not. She does it on her own time. I'm learning that as a father. Anywho, NY Jets FL joins us. What's up, brother?
Good morning, gentlemen. I only want to take a minute of your time,
okay,
because I want to defer my time to Ricky NY if he's on there.
He is not. So he I don't want to spread his business out on air, but it sounds like he's got a very serious family situation he's dealing with. So he said he'll call it a different time. So hopefully abstinence makes the heart grow fonder. And we're waiting for Ricky to give us his Jordan Travis, the guy he wanted so desperately take. Hopefully he holds it on tight, and I'm hoping the best for him and his family right now. But hopefully whenever he does have the chance to come on, we can throw a big party about it.
Gotcha. Then I'll just say a couple of things. The stories about family, bonding together is, I'll give you an example. Laura and I were Tampa Bay Lightning fans, right? I was a Ranger fan growing up. Converted down here. Her first game was a Ranger playoff game a few years ago. You want to talk about intense, because you have so many transplants here. So it was probably 30% Ranger fans here. So it's exciting. But I'll tell you one story about another game. We went to another game, I had my Lightning jersey and my Ranger hat on. We're walking around. I'm sorry, Lightning jersey and my Jets hat on. We're walking around, and a guy goes to me, "Hey, you're a Jet fan?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "How are you a Lightning fan?" I said, "Because I moved here, but I'm not going to be a Buccaneer fan. There's no way. You're not gonna. I don't care what you got to do. There's no way I'm going to do that." He goes, "Oh my God, my family's, all my family are from Long Island, this and that, of the random events that happen that were in the same place at the same time in the arena of 19,000 people. There's another Jet fan there." And I'm like, it has to happen that way. It's one of those things. But quickly on the draft,
Yeah.
the running back from Wisconsin, you
Yeah.
can say all the accolades you want. The running back from Wisconsin, getting a 3rd-round pick next year, that was just flat out steal. Malachi Corley,
Mm-hmm.
Izzy's on a thin ice, but Izzy's on thin ice because of the he couldn't block in the past. He couldn't block on 3rd down. He couldn't handle that.
So how is he getting on the field? That's my question. You've added more running backs to the room, and to get on the field, I remember my high school coach saying, if you can't pass block, you're not getting on my field. So if you're in a 4-man committee and you can't pass block, I don't know what ways I'm orchestrating getting you on the field where the defense knows this kid can't pass block. I wonder what this play is. Yeah, it seems tough now, but maybe they got a master plan perhaps.
Right. How was the Cowboys draft? What they get? Tyler Guyton and who else?
Yeah, who else they get?
Let's move along.
All right. We'll stay on topic. All right. We'll stay on topic. That's about all I got, Paul. I know you got other callers. I'll make it short so they can get in there. You guys have a great day. Enjoy Atlanta. I hope you enjoy that. Have you ever lived there before?
About a decade ago. So
okay, so it's totally different. It's probably half a brand new city anyway. So
yes, it is.
Anyway, you guys have a great Sunday.
Pal. All right, you too. And love the storytelling. Thank you guys so much. Okay, we'll be wrapping up here shortly, so we'll consolidate some of these phone calls here. But let's go to our boy. How could we not? The glasses. He makes us look better. Like I said, I think there is something to it at the bar. You get a 6, around an 8. The 6 rises the profile. Let's bring in Johnny in all his style. What's up, Johnny?
Hey, good morning. Good morning, Mr. Esnen. What's going on, Boy Green? How you guys holding up?
Excellent.
So kind of piggyback on what the mole from Florida said, nah, he knows I'm just messing with him.
Yeah.
But me and my pops are very close as well. We every Sunday, like today, like I'm waiting for him to give me a call. We'll go out, go get some breakfast, and then just talk about our week and stuff like that, So that's awesome that you guys do this show and keep it going, man. So you guys got full supporters over here that appreciate that. I mean, I'm a big sports dude. I mean, my pops played sports growing up. He was a big really good soccer player until he got injured and whatnot. And, I boxed. But the love for the sports team, man. I mean, the heartache that he gave me to be a Mets, Jets, Knicks, and Rangers, right? When I could have been potentially a Yankees or Giants, and enjoyed some freaking championships would have been nice. But it truly brings in loyalty, I would say, right? But the draft for me, man, the first 4 were awesome, amazing. I think the other ones are, after the 5th round for me, I'm like, if 1 or 2 of those players hit, it is a home run for us, right?
Right. Think about Michael Carter II, 5th round pick. He's perhaps one of the best slot corners of football, if not the best. So that might be Joe Douglas's best draft pick that he had. So if you hit anything like that or half of that, you're doing pretty good business.
I don't know if you guys remember, but I was high on Malachi, and I was like, there was no way that we were going to be able to go ahead and get him in the 2nd round. He'll be gone, especially because, I mean, we didn't have a 2nd round pick, and Joe Douglas does his magic. He works out some fairy dust and says, you know what? Not only am I going to get him, but I'm going to get us a 3rd for next year. So the whole Reddick pick. We got it back, right? I mean, JFM, a casualty of an individual that did not want to take a pay cut. When you have two big impactful players when it comes to CJ Mosley and Aaron freaking Rodgers taking pay cuts and you don't want to do that, we don't have room for it. The culture inside the actual locker room has changed, and people need to understand that. Like, oh my God, we love JFM. How can that? I love JFM. JFM did all the dirty work that nobody talks about, and it's not the splash plays that people want to see him in that position, right? So it is what it is. The other thing too, man, is Braylon Allen, man. That's AJ Dillon.
Yeah,
Brees Hall.
100%.
That's Aaron Jones. We literally gave back Aaron Rodgers his Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon in that backfield. The Izzy situation, Izzy used to return kicks and punt return kicks as well. So that
I'm a little
might
nervous about that because I'm pretty sure he was the one who fumbled in the Buffalo game as a kick returner when we were played on the road in Buffalo. So, but I'm not, trying to kill a kid for one mistake in one game. But that's the thing that Izzy's going to have to. If Izzy's going to make it, he's going to now with that many running backs in the backfield and also potentially the return situation. You are not getting 25 carries and try to be a volume guy. It's hard, but what he has to do is with his limited touches prove that he's capable. And it's hard because you're going cold turkey off the bench trying to step up in these moments. If he can't, he won't last year. If he can make the most of those opportunities, I think that's going to be the role of the team.
Agreed. I mean, and I think for us, right, with kind of piggybacking more a little bit on the running back situation, when we had our most success is when we had our lightning and thunder, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, that ground and pound seems like it's what's going to come back. And how do you keep Aaron Rodgers upright and not hurt? Handing that ball off, man. So, or throwing that crazy freaking bubble screen, smoke screen to Malachi Corley, who 900 yards he averaged after the catch.
That's ridiculous.
That's insane. But he went to Western Kentucky and all that, blah, blah, blah. That doesn't matter, dude. Like, the whole NIL stuff, all these things have changed, man. Those people that we brought in are high character people, and it's exactly what Joe wants inside the locker room. So, dude, I'm excited for the year. Hey, man, we might be seeing a championship, dude, because it truly feels like it. It's an organization that this time around is being ran very well. For me in the draft, what I want.
I just hope that, the NFL Network kind of sends it to me in advance, a football life where we get everyone and they're talking about the regular season journey of Aaron Rodgers going, yeah, through that couple of 5 touchdown passes season opener. We're like, yeah, that was good. Yeah. So send us the football life Super Bowl video right now. I'll just take it. Ship it over. I'll give you the address. Let's go.
Dude, I'm hyped, man. I'm like, this time around, we're seeing all these moves that are being done that we've never. Maybe the Bill Parcells time, right?
Yeah, right. 90s. Yeah, right.
When we were making moves to make the organization better, not only right now, but in the future too. I mean, he's playing chess when you got all these other people playing hangman. And they're just hanging themselves out there with all these insane freaking contracts that they're doing. We're getting guys at our value in a great value as well. So it's exciting. Everybody needs to be happy, man. And then talk to your pops real quick, right? Dude, I truly enjoy when your dad gets up here. Like I really do. I feel like he reminds me a lot of my father. Maybe I'll get my dad up here one day.
Ooh, okay.
Go ahead and talk. Because my dad's a trip, man. He's my pop's a trip, dude. But maybe next week, Mr. Ezen, if that's cool with you, you could talk about the way Boy Green used to dress up, because I think me and him are around the same age. So, did he do the whole like super baggy pants and, with the big T-shirts on there, and then maybe with a chain and all that, with the facial hair and all this stuff like that? I really, really would love to see that. I think it'd be funny to talk about. My dad hated it. My pops to this day, right? Real quick nugget and I'll be done. I know I'm freaking ranting out, right? But my pops hates tattoos and hates facial hair, right? So my pops was like, you'll never be anything if you don't freaking shave off your hair or, freaking no tattoos. I'm tatted up and everything.
Yeah.
And let's just say that what I do for work, right? I'm kind of a little bit up there in what I do. And my pops to this day, he's like, I'm never going to give you the gratification of telling you that, I told you so. Like, you could tell me I told you so, right?
Yeah.
But I'm proud of you, dude. And that meant everything to me. You know what I mean? So
yeah, this is a future story. But when I walked in with my first tattoo, which was right here on my arm, and he saw the plastic like wrapping around it, he gave me kind of this cockeyed look. I'm like, is he gonna punch me? And then he just went like, that's not real. I'm like, and oh boy. Yeah, it's a story to itself.
Well, yeah, one day we'll tell another tattoo story as far as humiliating go. But Johnny, love the hat, and we'd love to have your dad on. But that hat is crisp. I'm not a flat brim hat guy, but you are.
Johnny can pull it off. That's the thing, because like I used to be the flat brim guy. They used to be like my era, and I felt like I looked good. And then I just got old. I'm like, all right, I'm a flex hat old man now, and they just they fit better. But they look good on you, Johnny. Though you can pull it off.
I got a big old head, so my head's big, dude. So I have to wear a lot of like snapback ones and everything. I mean, I'm a big dude, bro. Like I'm 5'11", and I weigh 230. So I used to fight at like 140, 145, but not anymore, dude. When you get kids and all that, and your wifey's there, bro. I got like 3 kids, dude. I can't. I still go to the gym at like 5 a.m. and whatnot, but it's not my workouts where I used to be able to go ahead and put down some weight. So, but I appreciate you guys letting me be on here, man, and let me know when that tattoo episode is gonna happen.
Oh my God.
I have to tell you guys about my tattoo when my pops saw my first tattoo.
Oh my God.
I've had ink since I was 13, right?
Oh wow.
So my pops did not find out until I was 21. And I'll tell you guys about that. So, but I appreciate you guys, man. Go Jets. We made some noise this year, and I'm looking for Ricky, man. We want Ricky on, dude.
Yes,
all of us.
100%. We all feel the same way, Johnny. So thanks for the call. And again, when Ricky's good to come on, and like I said, I know he's going through some stuff. We're thinking about you, Ricky. So we'll do that in the future for sure. Sorry, guys. We have a few other people waiting, but sorry, with it being an hour and a half, we're gonna have to cut it off here short. Hopefully, you guys can call back in the future. We got too long here, too much content. But thank you everybody who attempted to call in. We just have too many things, and it's getting too late, and I can feel my daughter roundhouse kicking me right now, so I know what that's about. But Father, a historically long episode, but everyone seemed to get a real kick out of it.
Yeah. Just one thing. Somebody made a comment. Just one thing I want to reference real quick. I saw it. Somebody talk about how JD was running the draft. He did really good for the first 4 rounds, and he kind of fell off the rails.
Yeah.
But when they showed the video of the draft room where they passed the phone around, and everyone I'll tell you that Saleh looked like an outsider in the room. Like he looked uncomfortable. Like he wasn't part of the group. It was just very odd. There's no way to go back and look at it, but I'll tell you, it kind of stood out to me because I think New York Jets fan FL saw the same thing. He looked uncomfortable in the room and like he wasn't part of what was going on. So it was very odd. So, but I meant to say that.
Hey, he didn't get enough defense. That's why he's like, what the hell? What's up with all this offense?
But amazing. Don't forget to bring your popcorn because we're going to be talking about Boy Green's eating habits.
Oh, boy. Yeah, there's a lot. Just even with that, you'd think that'd be enough of a tease for me to know the story. There's a lot of different directions that story could go in my history. That's for sure. But we'll have to see how that goes. Pop, as always, it's a pleasure to do all this. To the 700 people in the room, make sure you guys like the video, hit subscribe, whether watching live or after the fact. We appreciate the support. The channel's growing crazy. It's only growing because of you guys out there that are enjoying the content. So we appreciate it. Any final thoughts, Pop?
Nope. Good draft for the Jets. It'll be exciting to see what happens going forward.
Can't wait. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in, and we will see you tomorrow morning. Dom C. He will join us one last time this draft season to put a final bow on this draft himself. Plus, we'll have other really big guests this week joining us to talk all things draft and Jets. Looking forward to it. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.